Hey everybody, this is Perch. One of the things that you do if you're a retailer or you own a shop or you own a business or anything where you interact with customers, whatever they might be, is you learn to listen to those customers. And when you listen to those customers, it doesn't mean you're taking what they're telling you completely at face value. Part of the trick is to listen to the customers and try and understand what they're actually telling you. And, that doesn't mean no, that they tell you one thing and then you subvert their expectations and do something else. It means that sometimes a customer will tell you something and you have to keep asking why. I think it's an old McKinsey or Deloitte trick. It's a consulting trick, like many consulting tricks, where there's a framework or something that they throw at you that, it's designed to make it sound kind of clever and let them do as little work as possible. It's probably too rude about what they do. But basically it's the why exercise. And it's like you make a statement and then you say, but why? And then, the person, revises their statement and you say, but why? And you do that 5 times. And the goal is that you boil down to truly what the person is telling you. So it's in some ways, every now and then, you talk to somebody and they say, well, the customers will tell you misleading things. So you have to do something else. And it's like, no, that's the incorrect way of playing that game. The correct way is, you know, you have to keep digging. You actually have to keep listening to the customer. You have to listen to them even more to really get to the heart of what they're trying to tell you. So an example might be, it's one of my favorite ones. It's like, I will never buy comics on digital. Okay, but why? Because I like paper comics. Because I like to hold paper comics. Okay, but why? It's like, because that, I keep the paper comic. It's mine. I can hold on to it. It's mine. And I will stop there, but you could keep going down this exercise. But you'll notice that the digital comics question started with the I won't do digital comics, which may make people completely abandon the idea. And ultimately, with a lot of people, if you dig on that particular issue, it gets to, I don't trust that if I give you my money, for digital comics, that I'm going to keep, those comics are actually mine. My fear is that they're going to disappear one day when you decide to shut Comixology down or whatever it happens to be. Or basically, some people have, I don't think this is a completely fair analogy, but some people have related the Comixology closure and kind of all the things that they're doing. It's like, well, your comics are still available on Kindle. And it's like, but I didn't want to read them on Kindle. I wanted to read them where I bought them. It'd be like if I bought a comic and I took it home, and then one day somebody came to my house and said, sorry, you can't read the comic at your home anymore. You can only read it, in this building, it's the library. You can only read it at the library. So we're taking your comics there and you can come see them anytime you want, but they're going to be somewhere else. I think that's, again, not a perfect analogy, but that's when you get to the heart of digital and what people's reservations are with it. It actually has a lot less to do with the actual digital comic itself. Plenty of people who complain about digital are off using read free comics online or the Pirate Bay or whatever it happens to be. So, I mean, they're getting e-comics. And if you have a nice, relatively new iPad, lightweight, doesn't get hot, keeps its battery, all that kind of stuff, and, real big screen, and you've got the comics on there, it's a pretty good reading experience, even just in the, CBR, not CBR, anyway, the comic format, or even a PDF. It's, if you have a good comic reader and there's several free applications out there and you've got your comics loaded in, or you're using something like Comixology, or what happens to be, a guy came into the shop, this is now right before COVID. So right before I shut down, and, had his tablet there, and even the guy must've had, I don't know, thousands, tens of thousands of comics on this thing. Most likely all grabbed illegally, but they were all on there. And, you're looking at that, you can't deny that's a pretty good experience. What he'd had, he had them organized. You could sort on them by title or group or all the rest, all these meta tags, and just pull them up. It's pretty good. And I remember in that conversation, the guy going, I like my comics digital like this. Now at the time I couldn't determine if he meant, free because I'm stealing them, or, just organized nicely on the app. I think, who knows, maybe both. But that's a reservation with digital. So it's important to keep asking the question of why do you really dislike this thing? But the lesson for comic editors, creators, publishers, etc., is you need to keep digging. people will say things. Usually the first statement people give you is one out of anger or frustration. That's why the consulting model is to keep probing, to keep going. They'll tell you, I will never. Usually starts with some kind of absolute. Another one that's going on right now is I will never read black and white comics, because I've given the suggestion a few times, as have others, that, hey, Marvel should just go into their back catalog and print Takumbon stuff on, in the same format and throw it into Target. And then you print black and white, print out the cheaper paper, and off to the races you go. It's working really well for Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, etc. So go for it. And people show up in the comments going, well, yeah, but I'll never buy anything in black and white. It's like, yeah, I don't believe that's true. And quite bluntly, here's the ugly way to look at it. In a world where those Tankobon versions, Shueisha, is outselling. And what's the last figure I saw at like Shueisha, 1.8 billion, and Marvel at 300 million? Like, it was like it's not a close race right now. I think people are like, yeah, manga's just edging out, Marvel. It's not edging out, unless by edging out you mean a, TCU losing in the final game style blowout, edging out. They're getting their ass handed to them. So, it's not close. And the vast majority of that stuff, the vast majority of that stuff is black and white. And so, look, if you're Marvel, you do have to ask yourself the question, well, hang on a second, we're putting comics in this format at this size, and we're getting them colored and all the rest, and this other company in here is in there kicking our ass just in black and white. What are we doing? There is a world where if you knew you could go play in that audience, in that market, a black and white, screw it. Why wouldn't you? It's also not a one-way street either. If you've got readers who are used to color, and then suddenly you hand them a black and white product. Look, I know it's going to shock several of you, but it turns out in Japan, a lot of the media there, the TV, the movies, the video games, etc., it's in color. I know this is crazy. You probably didn't realize that about the Japanese culture, but a lot of their stuff is in color. So they are aware of what color is. They are aware of color for their media. And yet, black and white still works for them. They're anyway. But my point here is, well, why are people resistant to black and white? And if you really dig into it, what you find is that a lot of people believe either A, they're getting an unfinished, inferior product, even though, it might read better, quality is better. Hell, the black, white, and red stuff that Marvel is doing sold reasonably well in a lot of cases. Or, I think this is the bigger one, there's a concern that if they get handed something in black and white, they're going to be asked to pay $3.99, $4.99 and just get less. And so with moving to black and white, you also have to move the price point. That's kind of the whole idea. If you take a bunch of comics, 12 issues in a run, 2 arcs, and you put it on cheaper paper in black and white in a smaller kind of trade format, and you throw it out onto the shelf, you can't charge $50 for that. You need to charge the going rate, which is $7.99. And so I think that there's just, when I've talked to people, you do get a sense, if you really dig into it, of they'd be asked to pay the same dollar, just get more. And that's not an unfounded idea, because, as I mentioned, the black, white, and red comics, the stuff they did charge the same amount. I mean, it was still that $3.99, $4.99 price point. And it was just, they were done in black and white. And this is where I think comic creators, not the creators, but the publishers in a lot of cases, they outthink themselves, because they're sitting there going, well, yeah, but the quality of art pops, we're using some grayscale here, and it's more of an artistic product. It's like, yeah, that sounds good, but you're charging the same amount as something that you're fully coloring. So basically you're asking me to believe that all this additional coloring is not, not worth anything, or, we feel like you're gouging us. And it's hard to compete against that. It's hard to compete against feelings in that regard. And it's a lot of what listening to your customers are about. It's tapping into their feelings. They come at you with an absolute, but really what you're trying to do is understand, why do they think and behave the way they behave? Why, what's a lot of feelings are irrational. If you ask some people why they like particular superheroes, in many cases they're going to give you things that don't make any sense because the actual reason in their core is, I was young. I have a fond memory of buying a comic. I read that comic. It was kind of imprinted in my head that, the Thing was, tied to that childhood happiness and that memory. And so I've always liked the Thing. That it's not like, well, well, his power set is, he's stronger than the Hulk, but sometimes, and then he also has a military back. Like, no, that kind of stuff. Some people, but most people, it's all about emotion. And so the key is, keep asking the question. Many customers, many people will not tell you the correct answer up front. They will tell you kind of just a gut reaction to something, and it's your job to dig. It's your job to dig to get to the truth of what's going on. If you could do that successfully, hey, you'll have pretty good business. Anyway, there you have it. I don't know. Any of this makes sense? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for listening.